What up, though? OG Kenny, O_G_Kenny at Y3ar from the Streets TV. Welcome to Let's Not Forget Friday. All right. So, pedophile, ASSBITCH. Those were the three words, loud, very clear, that resonated through the courtroom that came out of Michelle Blair's mouth. This was in 2018. As she sat waiting on her turn to be sentenced for two different crimes that, she had committed while in prison. Now, she was yelling this out towards an individual who decided to take a plea deal as opposed to going to trial to face his accuser, which was his girlfriend or his significant other's child. So he pleaded out to the child rape or molestation case and ended up getting probation. She got pissed off about it, Michelle Blair. She yelled out, "You pedophile ASSB," you feel me, in the courtroom, and then went up to the stand and got convicted of two separate charges of assault on a prison employee. Both of them landed her an additional 38 months to 5 years on top of her 2 life sentences that she was facing at the time. Now, these 2 jail incidents, one of them occurred while she was in segregation. I think both was in segregation. The first one in segregation happened when she was on her way to the shower, and she got into it with another inmate. They got to having a verbal altercation. Officer stepped in the middle and said, "Hey, chill out and calm down. Let me de-escalate the situation." She didn't de-escalate it. If anything, she made Michelle Blair a little more pissed, and she kicked the officer twice, not injuring her, but assault on a prison employee comes with time because they don't want to see you do that again. They try to really veer you away from that and deter you from that by bopping you upside the head and keep you in segregation, right? The second incident happened when she, it was an officer. I guess she didn't like the officer, right? So what she did was she got a Pringles can, filled it full of urine and feces, and slung it on this officer. And they got on her neck, the right side of her body, her face, her chest. Disgusting. You hear me? That's one of the foulest things you can do to somebody. I mean, spitting on them is bad enough. Like, listen, spitting on somebody is one of the most horrible things you can do. But throwing your bodily waste, your feces, and your urine on somebody, you terrible. Now, if y'all don't know, that name is not ringing true to y'all, or it's not ringing a bell, Michelle Blair was sentenced in 2015 after admitting to the March 15th. In March 15th, they went to her home, right, on an eviction notice, right? They came to evict her because she obviously wasn't paying her rent, right? When they went to evict her, the authorities that got there started noticing something that wasn't right. The one thing led to another. They discovered her 13-year-old daughter, Stony Blair, and her 9-year-old son, Stephen Barry, dead inside of a freezer, stuffed. That story made headlines, and it's been covered on YouTube a million times. I'm talking about everybody and their mama done covered the story of the woman who stuffed her kids in the freezer. What's strange about that thing is that I know people who know her personally because she was right up the street off Jefferson or Lafayette or whatever in the King homes, right? So she like a home. She's a homegirl for one because she's from the city, but she's close enough. She literally, if I hop on the freeway right now, I get there in about 7 to 8 minutes to King homes. That's how close she is to me. So this was close to home, and I knew individuals who said, "I knew this girl. I went to school with this girl." You know what I mean? She wasn't always like that. Something happened. Something deteriorated, though. She claimed that her 2 oldest kids had gang raped her 2 surviving kids, and said that's why she was triggered, basically, in court to yell out pedophile. When they asked her, actually, why did you attack these officers, and why you think it was cool to throw feces on them? She was like, "Hey, it wouldn't have happened had they not provoked me. Had they not provoked me, right?" Now, I actually, the candlelight visual that they did some years ago, I got some unique it's like a raw statement from the guardian of these 2 surviving kids that I want to play for y'all, if y'all don't mind, real briefly.
Points east side as family, friends, even complete strangers gather to remember 2 children who were found dead in their mother's freezer. A heartbreaking story. 7 investigator Jim Kirchner joins us now live from downtown Detroit with more on this heartbreaking story, kicking off tonight's Top 10 at 10. Jim. Yeah, this vigil was organized by Detroit City Council member Mary Sheffield, who is an ordained minister. But get this, the strongest, most compelling words came from the guardian of the two surviving kids.
Not pointing the finger here today. We want to remember the lives of these two young children, these innocent lives.
4 innocent lives, 2 ending behind the door of this townhouse in a freezer, discovered on Tuesday. The pain still far from over.
That we might save our children, and let not this day, nor the lives, nor the memory of these precious babies be in vain.
The guardian of the 2 surviving kids, a 17-year-old girl and a 9-year-old boy, stepping out into the limelight, if only briefly, with the strongest words spoken here tonight.
If you can no longer care for your children, or realize I just can't do this and want to relinquish your rights, I and many others would have more respect for you, for your decision, in order for the children to have a chance in this world.
Her sister is Michelle Blair, the mother who successfully shut out her and all of the outside world while she kept 2 of her kids frozen in hiding, the evidence shows, for more than 2 years.
There's no indication anything was so terribly wrong. So as far as I knew, she was through with me. These actions were calculated, cunning, meted out with insanity. All involved need help. I prayed my niece gets the psychiatric care that she so desperately needs to get.
The other kids knew, and the evidence shows they were abused all of their young, tender lives. They have not been in school for 2 years. Their mother claimed they were homeschooled.
Questions I have: were home inspections completed? She could not shut you out. What were the living conditions at the time of inspection? Were there no red flags? To the school system, how does a parent homeschool without your knowing their capabilities?
Angela Gordon is retired from the system, a police sergeant who worked child abuse cases on the front line. She told this crowd she's telling everyone, be vigilant.
We must stop associating ourselves with the word snitch. These are babies. It is our responsibility as adults, thriving parents, to save all children.
So y'all see the impact that these kids' lives, that was 7 years ago, that kind of like visual occurred, but the impact is still raw today. And that story, I'm doing a 2-for-1 today. I'm doing a 2-for-1 because I'm also covering the story of, sadly, another young person who was found in the freezer less than a day ago. Young boy, and it's so deep because I got this story from somebody very close to the situation's mouth. The same way I got the story of Michelle Blair's story before I actually saw it on the news, I got this story from somebody who's very close to the situation. And then I Googled it and I looked it up and I said, whoa, this is so reminiscent. So my initial, it's ironic that every time I go to do a story, something comes up in real life that guides me to a whole other story. Because initially I wasn't going to cover this particular story. To tell y'all the truth, I was going to cover the St. Auburn massacre today. But I thought this would be more dynamic because it's relevant and it happened right now. And that's let's not forget Michelle Blair. It's important because of the synonymous nature at which this young boy that was found yesterday occurred. 3 years old, and from what I'm hearing, he was blind, and the mother had been saying that he was given up for adoption, I believe. Right? These are things that the news don't even know right now. That I'm hearing from reliable sources. She was claiming, 30 years old, I believe, was claiming that she gave the boy up for adoption. The 30-year-old, if y'all see from the news clip I'm about to show y'all, it was a 30-year-old in the house, actually. So let me go y'all to that brief news clip right now, please.
Let's go ahead and get out now to Nick Monticelli with an update. Nick, what can you tell us?
Well, Sandra, I heard you just a few moments ago talking about the fact that there really are more questions than answers, and this is one of those cases where I have never seen more questions than answers. Yes, we know that a 3-year-old boy is dead. We know that he was found in a basement in a freezer inside of this home behind me, but really that's all we know outside of the fact that there was one arrest. Take a look at this map. We're in the 12,000 block of Monte Vista on Detroit's west side near 96 in Grand River. Now, police were called here for what whatever evidence they might be able to, but that was honestly not too much because of the circumstances. You can take a look at this video again, looking at this home in the 12,000 block of Monte Vista. So we have heard that police may have been called for a welfare check, and that's how they found the boy, but that's just a rumor at this point, and we haven't confirmed any of those details yet. So that may be true, and that might not be true. So just kind of bear with us on some of these facts that are going to be changing throughout the day. We do not know how the little boy died, if this was an accidental situation and somebody just lost their mind, freaked out a little bit, and unfortunately placed him in a freezer, or if there was something more malicious going on here. That's a possibility as well. Again, I hate to stand here and just, you know, kind of guess as we go along, but we're just trying to kind of sort all these details out as we go. But the bottom line as we come back out here live is that we do know that this 3-year-old boy was found dead in a freezer in the basement inside of this home. How did he get there? What happened? All questions that still have to be answered. But we do know that a 30-year-old female who lives in this home has been arrested. What's the relationship? Again, something we don't know. Is it the boy's mother, a caregiver, an aunt? Something we've got to figure out as well. So, again, please bear with us. We're getting all these details sorted out for you. But we do know, again, unfortunately, a 3-year-old boy found dead inside of a freezer. And we will have more throughout the day. In fact, the Detroit Police Department has said they will be able to share more details later today. So just stay with us, and we'll get you more.
On this street, there are other children at the home, so I am not giving the address out, but it's located in this intersection on this street. The child, who is estimated to be 3 years old, was found in this home deceased. They were here on a welfare check. Upon making this location with Child Protective Services and interviewing the occupant of the home, it was determined that the 3-year-old child was deceased in this home in the basement and sadly found in a freezer. This case has shocked me, has shocked our investigators, but the discovery would not have been possible without the officers' intuition. When they talked to the occupant of the home, they recognized that there was something not right about the conversation and the way this occupant was communicating with them.
Yeah, very sad situation, very, very tragic situation. It's too similar to Michelle Blair's case. She got 2 life sentences. There's no telling what this individual, they're not saying if it's the mother or not yet. You see that, right? But 3 years old, he's in the house with this woman. But like I was just saying, I've heard from reliable sources that she was telling people that she had given her son up for adoption. And lo and behold, when they do a welfare check and whatnot, they find out this boy's in the freezer dead. Now, with Michelle Blair's situation, them kids have been dead. They said evidence showed more than a year, and some say almost 2 years. So I don't know how long this young brother had been in the freezer, man. How long he been dead before being put in the freezer and all that. It's not yet clear. As it updates, though, I definitely will come back and holler at you guys and fill y'all in on the details of it. And I'm pretty sure by then most of y'all have been caught wave of the story and kind of found out more details on your own. But as a duty, I'm gonna definitely follow back up with that story, man. And you see what they say. If you don't have the proper help, if you don't got what you need for these kids, there are plenty of people willing to adopt kids. And I would rather a kid go that's older, because a lot of times the older kids don't get as much love as the younger kids, right? Same way with puppies and everything else. They want them kind of young so they can kind of not have to deal with all the issues and the trauma, the emotional trauma that they've suffered before they came to their household. But my thing is, these kids still deserve a fighting chance. They still deserve a good home. And there's plenty of families that I'm pretty sure will adopt older kids or kids, period, as opposed to y'all killing these babies, man. That's why I stress, as a form of retiring from the streets or from prison or from anything that has been stressful and post-traumatic or something that affected you, therapy, mental health therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy. We need to tap in with that, even if we're not going through something, because in your best moments, sometimes the world will just smack you out of nowhere and catapult you into sometimes a depression or a funk that you can't get out of on your own. And we need to lean on each other. We need to lean to people who are more qualified to handle these type of situations than we are, because it's very sad and it's tragic. It brings you to the type of anger where you want to see something bad happen to these people, man. I stress on every other video that I talk about kids and women, that kids and women, vulnerable people, elderly people, off limits, man. I don't get it. I don't get it, and it has to be, and maybe I don't get it because I don't have the type of sick mind that some of these people are having. And I'm saying sick in a clinical standpoint. Not saying you just crazy, because that's an easy category to put people in, right? But people are usually sick. They need help. When you're sick and you got a cold, you go get something. When you're sick or you're wounded or something is wrong with you on other levels, when you're sick spiritually, you go to church. When you're sick mentally, you know, and emotionally, you need to go to somebody who's a spiritual advisor maybe, or who's qualified in these areas to help y'all out. You know, if you feeling overwhelmed with your kids, if they're a little too much to handle, if you feeling like putting your hands on them, if you're having thoughts of hurting them, then you need to reach out for help. Call somebody that you can trust and say, hey, I'm having problems right now. I'm feeling overwhelmed. It's too much. The pressure of having kids, even though I decided to have them, is a little too much. Because I get it. It's easy for somebody to say, well, damn it, if it was hard with one kid, why you had two? If it was hard with two kids, why the hell you had 3 or 4 or 5? It's easy to say that. It's easy. But when people start their lives over, new relationship, they think it's going to work, it happens. Some things happen. You can't, you know, we can't blame them kids for being here because they didn't ask to be here. And sometimes the women didn't ask to be pregnant. A lot of dudes just lied to them. I know too many dudes that lied. The females got knocked up and left. And sometimes the females trick dudes into the babies they didn't want. Either way, them kids are here, and they're our responsibility, all of our responsibility. It takes a village to raise these kids for real, and it still does, and I'm always believe. I'm a firm believer in that, man. You know, retiring from the streets don't just mean like I'm not selling dope no more, I ain't committing crimes no more, I'm not going back and forth to prison no more, none of that. It means that I'm taking better care of myself as well. Because usually when we out here in these streets, we out here in these stressful situations that's robbing the energy and the emotion from the soul, then guess what we going through? Hell and torment. We putting ourselves in positions a lot of times, and we trying to retire from situations that are unhealthy for us. So then what do we have to do? We have to get healthy. We got to eat better. We got to think better. We got to meditate. We got to stretch. We got to drink plenty of water. You see what I'm saying? Look, I'm trying. Look, I even make my own little mix now. You feel me? Unsalted. You dig? I ain't endorsing nothing, but I take better care of myself now, man. I'm loading up my water. I put my lemon in there and whatnot. I don't even ride around with juices and pops and none of that stuff. So we need to do that, man. I don't want to rant too long because it's Friday. I know y'all ready to stop me in my mouth, but I thought it was important to tell that story about Michelle Blair as it relates to this young brother who's still unnamed, and he's still unnamed, and that's understandable because he's a minor, and it's still unclear as to everything that's happening with his case. But as it's updated, like I said, I will holler at y'all, man. I love y'all, man. Y'all be safe. Y'all take care of y'all babies. Y'all shield your household with prayer. Y'all shield your household with sage and whatever else you got to do to get them evil spirits. Don't bring home that negative energy and evil spirits from the streets, from these social media. Don't let it into your cipher. Guard yourself with the full armor of God. Protect yourself with the full armor of God at all times. I love y'all. Y'all be safe. OG Kenny, O_G_Kenny, at Y3ar for the Streets TV. And as always, y'all know what time it is. I'm out.